Joe.
And we are Keanvenient Truth.
Yes, we are back.
We are back. I was away. I was gone on my England trip. So
we've
that's
had a
why.
podcast since then.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
Yeah, we spoke to
Meredith and
Yeah.
Nicole, they were after England?
Yeah.
Oh wow, guys. I'm sorry. I thought I was gonna get into the
That
whole
was your
England
plan?
thing.
Now we got nothing?
Yeah,
Now we got nothing?
Now I got
Now we
nothing.
got nothing.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I still feel like lots has actually happened. There's been a lot. I think that we do need to maybe kind of touch base because I feel like in the podcast that we had prior to Nicole and Meredith, the social workers that we had on, which by the way, you guys, if you haven't checked that out yet, I really think you really could do that if you're interested in the social work field, especially if you're like young and you're, in your beginning stages of work in the field. That would also be really interesting to just kind of hear about. But
episode 61.
Yeah, prior to that episode, we got into our relationship a lot. That was, I think, like a big one of our relationship and the frustrations that I'm having and you're having, etc. Right? So I do kind of want to follow up on that because it's like we had this big episode about what was going on, but we haven't really.
Did we?
Yeah, and remember you had your friends. You had your friends
Mm-hmm.
being like, "Are you guys okay?"
Oh, right.
Like everybody was all like concerned, which to me is just funny because
it's okay to argue.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
Right, it's not the end of the world. But I mean, what we absolutely have done since then is we got into our own couples therapy, which I think is really, really great.
Okay, I'm glad you wanted to talk about this. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
Oh no! I think it's amazing, and we got into our own because I think that it sometimes gets to a point in any relationship. I feel like where sometimes you just have difficulty like speaking with each other, and for us, it's not that we're not communicating because we're like actually overly communicating. For me, I think it's just like how, and then in that moment. I think I'm being like triggered by something that has nothing to do with you, of my just self-imposed things that I've done to myself my whole life. And then you're just like not hearing what and then we're just like in this big. And so I think it was important for us to really find someone who, knows their shit, who could just be like a mediator and kind of help us be able to kind of like navigate those particular moments. And those moments are all surrounding parenting.
Yeah, for the most part.
Really, so anyway, yes, we started that and I am so excited about it. I love the lady who we're speaking to.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me as a clinician to find someone who I think is really great. I'm a therapist snob, I'll say it. And so she's good.
Yeah, she cut right to the chase, good. And she realized that she's talking to two people that are extremely self-aware, know what's going on, but there's just a couple things we just can't figure out.
Yeah, she's good. She's on point. She knows, and I like her too. I like that she's I like that she's older. She's not so much older than us, but she's a little older than us. Her kids are, I'm sure, older.
Yeah.
And I like that too, because in terms of parenting, that's really kind of a lot of the focus in those moments, what's going on. So I like that she at least has that experience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'll say what I took out of that first session, really again was everything that had to do with me.
I mean, hold on. Do you want to like talk about like every time we have a session, then we can come on here and we can talk about it?
I mean, I'm sure it'll get brought up just because it's a part of our lives. Yeah. But I mean, like we don't have to like, spend the whole time talking about it.
I think it would be interesting though. It'd be to see to watch the development of it,
Yeah. First of all, I feel like it happened rather quickly for us too, in terms of like, because after that session, I left feeling so amazing, as always, whenever I do go and see someone, So I left feeling really, really amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I had a huge connection during that session, which was the connection of, she used the word with me and she was like, it sounds like some of these things that you have towards Joe in these moments are just like self-imposed. And then it was like, mind blown, like huge thing, because then what happened to me, you guys, in that moment is a lot of things happen really quickly in that moment. So it sounds like a lot, but it happened really fast. So self-imposed. When she said that to me, my brain went and it rewinded, right? And it went back to
That's a
a
great noise sound effect.
Yeah. It went back to a previous conversation I had with some other clinician. And we were talking about, I don't know, I think I've been pretty open about this like thing that I had. My dad's like my best friend, and like I always need like some kind of reassurance, validation from him, whatever. It's like really fucking annoying. But anyway, so I was having that conversation with this other clinician and we were talking about it, and she was just like, and I was like, I don't understand where this comes from. I really don't. Like it's like really like my life was pretty privileged, like I've had really no trauma besides, let's say, my mom leaving, which was really big, but with my dad there's really like nothing. And so like he's always been supportive, always been there, always been. And but I remember her saying, so did you ever think that this was just all like self-imposed? And so then I was like, huh, self-imposed, right? Okay. Yeah. So that made sense to me, right? So then cut to back to the couple session. She says self-imposed, and I'm like, oh my God, Nancy, am I doing the same thing throughout my whole life that I've done to myself towards Joe in this relation, like in this moment, in these moments of arguing? Am I just creating all this stuff in my own mind because I'm just like self-imposing all this stuff? And Nancy was like, well, I'm not saying that, but, right? And I was like, holy shit. Cut to moving forward after that session. Boop, 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 boop. I then was speaking to another clinician friend, right, who I was talking to. And then we're talking about it because I'm bringing this up with her and we're getting into it. And then she's like, yeah, that's interesting. She's like, I mean, did you ever like, like just with your whole sister when you were younger and your whole situation, like you had a sister who, lived a very different life than you, right? So my sister was like, she didn't, there was lots of things that she didn't accomplish when she was younger, I think. And there was lots of just conflict between her and my parents and lots of chaos going on in terms of that side of things. And I think because of that, what I ended up connecting between all three of these people who I've just been like speaking to or just like shooting the shit with, I realized the reason why I self-impose all this shit and these expectations on myself is because I feel and have felt as though I had to carry out this huge task of being the one in my family that succeeds in like the professional career way.
Okay.
So my dad's a doctor, right? And then there's my sister and I, my sister didn't graduate high school at the time because she had my amazing niece, which was wonderful. But I think I took on a lot of the stuff that my sister didn't do and created it in my own thoughts of like, oh my God, now I have to do this. I have to be the person that graduates and goes to college. I have to get good grades. I
But
have to
how
do
does
this.
that connect to
It connects
doing?
to the self-imposed because again, although my dad never put that pressure on me, I put the pressure on myself because I saw my father and my mother so upset and so angry and so sad and so, I mean, there was a lot of arguing going on between my sister and my parents. There was a lot of fights, lots of stuff. And I was the one that always sat back in my room crying and so sad when all these fights were happening and so scared. And I think because of that trauma, I then created these expectations I put on myself to be the best in my family.
But like the conflict, like creating, like
What do you mean?
self-imposed,
Yeah.
meaning like creating conflict within a
No.
relationship.
No, 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 no.
Because
Self-imposed. No, 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 no. That's not what Nancy was
that's not
saying.
what she's talking
No,
about.
absolutely not. The self-imposed means the reason why those conflicts are happening between you and I in those moments. So for example, let's say you make a comment about my parenting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is always the case, let's say. But let's say you do, and you do need to work on that. That's not, I'm not disregarding that. But let's say you do. What ends up happening in my mind is I take that as I'm not succeeding. I'm not a good mom. I'm actually failing at this, which goes back to a lot of my own stuff of self-imposing on myself when I was younger. I could not fail. In my mind, I had to make sure that I succeeded. I had to make sure that do you know what I'm saying? So it actually is all connected. That's what Nancy was really talking about. That's what my colleague friends were talking about. And that's where I'm at now. So what I'm realizing now is that in these moments of conflict, and that's why I was able the other night, remember the other day when it was like a whole lunch issue with Soul, and I was going to make her lunch. And then you were like, well, I really don't want her to eat that. Like you commented on what I was going to make her. Normally, prior to this insight, I would have taken that as you're, telling me what I'm doing and that what I'm doing is bad. And here I am fucking up again and and the whole nine. But I didn't, because I realized that all those things are now my own shit that I'm completely creating in my mind for no fucking reason, for trauma that I had when I was younger that has no relevance in my life today. So I was able to hear it differently and turn it around. And that's why you kind of saw me fighting with it, because I was in my head and I was like, okay, this has nothing. He's not saying that I'm not doing well. He's not saying that that I'm doing something bad. He's not saying that, Aaliyah. This is fine. He just wants to make sure that Soul eats like something that's healthier than what. And then I was able to push through it. It was fucking amazing.
Thank God. This is where I've been. This is where I've been living, right?
Oh, it's just amazing.
And I'm like, what is going on? Why are you like taking this so like,
dude,
another world?
so amazing. So what I'm hoping by being able to talk about this is I'm hoping that people understand that at the end of the day, people are people. It doesn't matter if you're a fucking doctor, lawyer, therapist. Doesn't matter. People are people. People are all going to have their own shit. And for me, what the biggest focus about that is what you do with that shit, right? So for me, I know that I'm not a valuable person, friend, mother, clinician if I don't really actually get to the bottom of a lot of my own stuff, which is why I have made sure to do those things throughout my life and continue to do so, because at each stage of life I come across, there's always going to be something new. And so I can't just go, oh, okay, well, I worked on all of my, stuff with my mom and that was the biggest thing and I'm fine now. It's like, no, like I'm a person, I'm not dead yet. There's lots of things. There's lots of layers,
That's why it's so tough. Like when people have these traumas in the past and they're literally living in the past to move forward, because they can't get past that thing, but there's so many other things that keep coming up,
right,
that it gets overwhelming, and it's this like crazy thing that makes you want to just retreat even more, probably, right? Because you still got this other baggage that you haven't taken care of,
right,
but there's new baggage continuously coming,
always coming.
So if you're able to like flush the old stuff out, be okay with it, understand yourself,
it's not a mountain, right? And you're not left with a mountain of fucking shit, Now I do want to be clear, Joseph, this does not mean my own insight into myself does not let you off the hook regarding your own stuff. I want to be clear.
Let's talk about it.
I just want to be clear.
You're always insinuating this, but you never actually like say really the things. Like,
say what things?
Like you say them, but then I have something to say about it, and then you can't like actually like go.
I don't know what you're talking about. Say what things?
You tell me. Like you're what you just
said.
Oh,
your own stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, your own stuff, meaning your own obsessiveness and your own control and your own like continuously harping on stuff that really isn't that big of a deal to harp it on, and your own rigidity that Nancy, the therapist, also actually commented on and used the word for, which in that session, let me tell you guys, I was very excited when she used that word, because that is a word that I've used towards you years ago.
If you can recall in that session, I'm the one that brought that up.
You didn't use the word.
No, I said rigidity.
You did not use the word.
I said rigidity, and she said,
oh, she's like,
that was actually what I was just thinking about.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's true. So I'm glad that Nancy,
that I'm aware of this.
You did. However, you don't really do. I think now you're actually more aware of it and doing stuff because you heard Nancy basically validate what you already knew. Because I've been telling you this, and I know you've known this, but you haven't done anything about it. This is now after that session, I actually see you actively trying to work on it.
I'm doing even more, but I have always done things, because if you just let me be,
I have not really seen that.
Imagine me, single guy, no kids. It's just like efficiency. Like my whole life is just like everything is automated.
Yeah,
right.
No wonder why you're passing out on the fucking toilet.
So it's not possible to do that when you're like married, you got a kid,
a 3-year-old,
you got work, you got all this other stuff. It's like there's the kid thing really throws a wrench into that type of lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to see it affecting our daughter, and that's what's really been making me think about it and change things. Not like I was already thinking about this and aware of it before.
Thinking and doing is different. I know that.
Well, it takes time to implement things, and like I'm like looking at moments and like thinking about how I could say them differently, and sometimes I have to like do them a few times and do them in different ways to see which one works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, it is also nice to hear certain things that I may have mentioned to you from somebody else, from a third party. It's the same thing as you telling me, but I hear for me, third party say it, and I'm like, oh my God, now it makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean that what you tell me I'd like disregard. The stuff that you say that you said to me is still in here, which is why when I hear it from somebody else, it makes even more of an impact, because
for you, that needs to happen.
Yes.
For me, that doesn't necessarily need to happen. I'm like looking into it already, but it might push it forward a little bit faster, but it does. Like, I'm not looking to like confirm these things. What are you doing?
I want to see the screen.
Oh my God.
I like something to look at.
Writing notes and stuff.
You are writing notes.
So you need first off, that you need the authority figure to tell you. I could tell you the exact same thing a doctor or a lawyer or whatever is going to tell you, but it doesn't matter. It's coming from me. You have to pay the money or freaking go through some traumatic experience to get to the point where some authority figure is telling you that you shouldn't have done this when I
shouldn't have,
or whatever the fuck it was, that I am constantly trying to help prevent or guide you into these ways, but it's like we can't do this because it like just basically blocks the whole Instagram.
I like seeing if anyone's watching. I just like seeing the number on there. It's a thing that I've done. I've always done it. I like seeing if it's like,
So
anyway,
are you with me? Did you hear what I was saying? Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. Another thing that I do want to get into with you is I really do think that, and I don't know if this was a dream or not, but I could have sworn there was a moment, whether it was yesterday or the day before or after therapy, I forgot what it was. You were saying something about you really need to like work on or really gain some more insight or work more on the issues with your dad or when you were growing up. What's the dream I had?
I mean, we briefly talked about it last night.
Oh man.
So you might have been like in and out of at like between like 9 and 10 o'clock. It's like if you say anything to Aaliyah, she may or may not hear it, depending.
Well, I'm also high
sleep level.
I'm also high during that time. High meaning I like to engage in medical marijuana. That's what I like to do every now and then.
So yeah, no, I would be like, so I need to look more into it. I am always looking into it, and I have been looking into it. It's like
I think you have been, but man, I
it's
gotta
like
tell you.
connecting the dots of like how that's affecting soul. That's all that drives any of this.
Right. I mean, it would be great though if what drove this was just you wanting to know for yourself, because it would probably change a lot of just
Well,
like.
no, I do want to know for myself. I'm just saying, like, that's the igniter that like it's like a mirror. It shows like when she does things that I know she's doing it because I said this thing or I was this rigid, and she's like looking at me and like she's careful or whatever her thing is, or being controlling or whatever. I know that I played a part in that and I injected that. So like I don't want her to be like that or feel like that. So like I need to fix myself in order to adjust that.
Right. Um, Another thing that came up with our new amazing marriage therapist is she said something also the other day in that session, and she said something like, oh, she asked us how we parent. And she was like, "Well, how do you guys parent? Like, do you parent with a plan or parent in the moment?" And I was like, "Man, that's a great question and that's a great thought. And you parent with a plan, and I parent completely in the moment." And so
Parent with a plan. I parent with a
you
plan.
parent with a plan.
And you don't.
Oh, I don't parent with a plan.
Well, that's how you are. You are like you're in the moment,
I do
in the
not
now.
parent with a plan. I'm always in the now, always in the moment. What's going to happen today? And then I go based on that. But you're like, okay, so we're going to do this.
This is the thing we
this,
talked
this,
about a
check,
week ago,
check,
and we are
check.
doing that now.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel like that's really hard to do when you have a toddler.
Well, this is why we are also going to child
Let
therapy
me
as
tell you,
well.
you guys, we have so much
We got a
work
whole
going
team
on.
going
We
on
have a
right
whole
now.
team right now in our lives, and I'm so thankful and so happy about it. We have, which I don't think Soul / our daughter is going to be seeing her therapist much for behavior stuff. I think that
It's more for us.
yeah, it's actually more for us, really, than it is for her. I think actually she's great. And a lot of the stuff that we're seeing with her with the shutting down stuff, I think is going to like, because I already see it slowly, and I think it was just about us being on the same page. And I think after I got back from England, I have been so conscious about making sure that I don't fall back completely into my old stuff with her and letting her get away with everything. And so because of that, I think she's been like, oh.
Well, that's the planned parenting in the structure, like creating that's
Right.
it. And you're like very not wanting to get on board, but you know you have to, like, and you're gonna hear more and more about that, I think.
Right. Well, I think you're gonna hear more about stuff.
What if we go through all this and like there is like nothing that I have to change? Would you be
I'm
pissed
telling
off?
you, yes, I would, because I'm telling you right now, there's no fucking way that in this situation I'm the only issue. Like, there's just not possible.
No, you know what? I'm going to tell you how it's going to go. Right now, for like the immediate, like what is like really causing issues or whatever, I think it is stuff with you. But once you're able to get past that and we are on the same page with the planned parenting and the structure, I think there's going to be other things that can be worked on, and those things can be done with me as well.
Joe, you're really something else. I mean,
I'm just saying.
And then
hey,
so
now it's on record. So now, like, you can go back and I can
what I'm
be like, I said that.
What I'm hearing you say in that moment is that at right now the issues are me. That's what I just heard you say.
Yeah,
which I think is insane.
And I would admit, if I was like, I would say,
Joe,
I know that there's
absolutely crazy. You are insane.
Listen,
not with this, just in general.
There are things.
There's no way.
The things that I am doing to Soul are like listen, they are things, right?
They're huge things.
But listen can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Because right
like,
now I felt
first off,
attacked
if
and
you go back to
blamed.
this, like the first 10 minutes, you just talked.
I just felt
Can you
really
give
blamed.
me?
I felt blamed.
You let me breathe a second
Well, I
on the
mean, you just
microphone or
basically said
something?
that I'm the issue of our daughter's things for right now, which is kind of
Well, somebody
like.
has to say these things. Like you.
But I'm not the only issue, which is wild to me.
Okay. And if you let me talk,
All right,
I
fine,
will
go
keep
ahead.
going and
All right, that's
explain.
fine.
All right. You never get to the end of what I'm saying, which is why you take things and go into the stratosphere.
Just go.
So, like the things that I'm doing to our daughter, of the way I am, and rigidness and strictness or whatever, these are things like long-term things, I think, that are really going to be embedded in her brain, which I need to fucking stop. Right. The things that you're doing are like directly, if you do something now, she's exploding or wanting something or crying or whatever. It's like an immediate thing, right? My
Okay.
things are like long term, which could be worse.
It is worse.
Okay.
It actually is worse.
But just know that I am doing things about it and I'm working on it and I'm aware of it, and it's a long-term thing, and we have time for me to turn this ship around. Your stuff, if you don't do it, it's like an immediate emotional expression. Things are exploding right in front of you. So that needs to be resolved today.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Okay. I hear what you're saying. So basically, my stuff is just more like short term in the moment stuff, and your stuff is long term, which again, actually is exactly what we were talking about in regards to parenting with a plan versus parenting in the moment. Those two things would actually both fall in line with those two things.
You're right.
So that makes total sense. I just want to say then
you just wanted everything to be like equal.
I just want to say then that the long-term stuff is worse. I'm just saying.
It is, which is like, put yourself in my shoes. It's like more pressure, more like shit that's like we're gonna have to deal with it for a long time if I don't fucking turn things around, right?
Okay.
But you also have the same similar control things that are also adding to the long-term thing. So not only do you
but I also know how to pull back, I think, way more than you do with that. Before I had Soul, every single one of my colleagues, because they're in the field also, right? And every single one of my friends told me, more so my colleagues, but they would look at me and they're like, "Ooh, you are really in for something." And I'd be like, "Why?" And they're like, "With your control issues, you throw a kid into that mix, she is going to challenge the fuck out of you." And I knew going into this, because I had several conversations before I had Soul, that this was going to be one of my biggest challenges in life because of my control stuff. But I got to tell you, because I mentally already knew that and had these conversations, I've been like consciously from the first day really aware and trying to make sure that I don't let my control stuff really get in the way with her so much. So like little by little, like now what she could play in dirt and I don't care. Whereas before it would literally in the beginning.
Same here. Yeah.
Right. In the beginning it would like kill my insides.
I still care.
You know, like
I just don't say anything.
I don't really care with the dirt anymore. I'm like, I'll care for a few seconds and then I'm like, whatever, man. Like she's gonna be dirty, it's not a big deal. You know, now I let her pick out her outfit. I don't know if you saw her outfit today, did you?
No.
She's crushing it. I let her pick out her own outfit, and now I'm constantly doing that now.
This is gonna get out of control.
See, that's my stuff.
I'm telling you right now that's gonna get out of control.
What? Her picking out
letting her pick? Yes, because there's like gonna be too many options. Like,
I'm not even giving her an option.
What do you mean pick out her own clothes then?
I tell her to go to her room and go pick out her clothes. So
anything she wants.
Yeah. So then she goes to the drawer. She pulls out something from there. And now if she wants something from the closet this morning, that's why there's a stool in there now. She takes the stool, she stands on the stool, and then she grabs the one in the closet that she wants. And then she says, "Mommy, I need help." And then I come and she's like, "I want to wear this one." And I'm like, "Okay."
What if it's like a clown outfit? You're going to let her roll?
I actually, to be honest, kind of have some faith in her that she's not going to pick some bullshit out. She's been doing really well. Taste. She has really good taste. I'm pretty like I'm not really scared anymore. Well, like even today I was a little questionable about it, but she could really pull many things off.
Honestly, now that I think about it, it's good that you're doing that, because like I was initially planning the plan was to put the night before a couple of options for her to choose from, and in the morning she can pick this one or this one, right?
That's too many options, even then.
But then eventually what that was doing was leading to what you're doing now.
She's already doing it.
So if she's already doing it, she's already skipped that part. And yeah, I mean, the other morning I went into her room and she was just waking up, and it was so weird because she was just doing the normal things like an adult would do when they wake up. She was like yawning and then stretching, and then she reached over and grabbed her water. And I'm just like sitting there. She still hasn't talked to me yet, right? And then all of a sudden she gets up. She's like, I was like, where are you going? She's like, I gotta put my pants on. I was like, okay. So then she just started getting dressed, and I was like, all right, I'll let you get to it, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
this is a new thing.
Yeah. So those are ways that I'm just also kind of like, and obviously with other things. I mean, she still she challenges the heck out of me, like just with this morning with the whole food thing. Man, we got into
food thing is a thing.
Well, we got into it this morning because again, figure this out. I don't care if she eats or not. What I do care though is when she says that she's done. Okay.
Yeah, but she's bullshitting.
She says that she's done. It's 8:35 on a school day, which means I have to get her to school by at least 9. So I have to be leaving soon. She tells me she's done. The deal was if she ate all the eggs that I sectioned off for her to eat, then she could have time, if there was time, to have the phone afterwards. That was the deal. She said, okay. Well, she said, Mommy, I'm finished. I said, did you eat your egg? She said, yes. I said, are you lying? She said, no, I'm not lying. I looked over, didn't touch the eggs. So I said, well, so Daddy had a conversation with you about this already. You're actually lying. You're not telling the truth because you did not touch the eggs, which means that you don't get the phone. Okay. She left it alone. Everything appeared to be fine. I continued getting everything ready, and now time to go. All right, so we got to go. No, I'm eating. What? No, you're not eating. Now it's time to go. I already told you that if you're not going to eat, you're not going to get the phone. So let's go. We got to go. No, throws herself on the floor. Jesus. It's already 8:50 now. Okay. I'm picking her up. Picked her up from the floor. She's screaming. I'm holding her like this. Okay. But then she goes stiff. And then she starts falling down through. Now her neck is by my arm. I'm like, oh my God, I'm almost like choking her. So I let her go. She's like, ah. And what did I say to come? Oh, I was like, you will not get this phone. Now I'm like annoyed. I'm like, you will not get this phone. You did not eat your eggs. And maybe on another day, at another time, when you actually finish your food, you can get the phone. And then she was like, okay.
All right, let's see if you are now telling the full truth or not. Was the morning rushed?
No, absolutely not.
But I know in your eyes, anything with a half hour left is not rushing.
I mean, so I'm really bad with time, but right. I know that I started making breakfast and all I made was eggs. At what time? Right. All I made was eggs and toast with cream cheese. And I gave her a little bit of that first. And I said, you have to eat the eggs at 8:00 on the dot.
8:00.
Yeah. Takes 2 seconds to make eggs.
All right, that's not too bad. That's not bad. So she had done nothing until 8:50.
She was eating the toast and the cream cheese, and just I was doing her hair,
I figured out the trick. Figured out the trick is you cut the toast into 4s. You give her 1/4 of that, 1 square, right? And then you give her the eggs and maybe some avocado or something, and she's got to eat that. If you finish that little piece of toast, then you can get more.
Right. Yeah, right? I should have done that.
If you give her the toast, she eats the whole fucking thing. Then she doesn't eat any of the other shit.
I know. She's really great too at convincing you that like she's gonna do something. She's like, no, I'm gonna do it. And so then she gets me going. So I'm like, okay, she said she's gonna do it, but I just need to know that she's not gonna do it.
This is my life with you. This is you. This is you. You're very good at that as well. You're always playing. Okay, I'm like, okay. It always comes back somehow. It always spins back. When you have a kid, it's like this constant mirror all the time. But,
constant mirror.
What else we got?
Well, I was going to say something else about that. Anyway, so just to wrap that up, I really do hope that from like my goal, I don't know about yours, but I know you have a lot of goals with this podcast. But my goal, if I'm going to do this podcast, which we have been doing, is to be as honest and authentic as I possibly can, to be able to somehow, I don't know, maybe help someone or assist someone with some thought that they've been having about something. Like, for example, like, like I have friends will contact me and they're like, oh my God, I listened to your episode of the podcast. Oh my God, that's going on with me and my husband right now or something.
Right.
And I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I want people to understand that this is, I mean, just because I'm a therapist and just because you and I have this, like, what I think is a great relationship and blah, 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 it doesn't mean that there's not shit. There will always be shit. Again, it's about what you're going to do with that shit and how you handle that shit. So I hope that people hear these things and are like, you know what? Okay, maybe we need to really look into then what we're actually going to do about these things versus the fact that, like, versus anything else, like, do something. Like, anyone could do something.
Or they hear us talking about a similar topic that they are going through, and then they hear what we did to, like,
and maybe
resolve
you're like,
it, and then they're like,
okay.
oh, I didn't think about that, or whatever,
Something.
Yeah. No, that's, I agree. That's what I'm here for as well. That's why anybody should put out a podcast. Anybody that has any knowledge in anything should create a podcast, because there's always somebody out there that may be going through the same thing and wants to know what to do or how to go about it. We still got a little bit more time. All right, I just want to go back a little bit on this this self imposed stuff real quick. What I was also thinking is, like, this is what I was thinking. Now, I agree what you were saying on why you're doing that, and I didn't think about that. This is what I was thinking about. It was that you had a fairly easy life, right? A good life. Your dad had a good, he's a doctor, all this other stuff. You had the trauma with your mom, which you're probably still kind of working through some of that stuff, her leaving when you were a little kid. But could it also possibly be that like you're wanting to, the way humans work is like they go through tough things, right? And when life is like so good that you're not pushing yourself, or things aren't happening, there's no struggle in life, that humans actually tend to create some sort of struggle.
I had struggle.
Right. Well, I mean, just like now, right?
What do you mean? Like now, right now in my life, I don't have struggle?
I mean,
I feel like I have my own version of what my life struggle is. Everyone's got their own version of struggle.
Right. And but what I'm saying is, like, some of that could be self-imposed, right? That mental struggle of whatever you're going through, right? I hear this from, like, people like David Goggins and well, even like Joe Rogan or whatever, where they're talking about where if you're physically working yourself or mentally challenging yourself in some passion thing that you're doing, and complicated, challenging things to figure out that don't have anything to do with life, or they're just opposite, they're outside of, like, your day-to-day relationships and stuff like that. Working out, hard workouts where you get to the point of, like, even the cold plunge type of stuff where, right, they say that people, that those things are good for you because it's like getting that out. It's getting it out in a healthy way, instead of, like, creating these self-imposed, like, turmoil in your relationships for no reason. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like getting that energy. It's another way to redirect that energy.
Well,
I'm not saying that this is you, but this is kind of what I was thinking about when we were talking about self-imposed.
Yeah, I guess. I hear it more like, for example, when I think of things like doing a cold plunge or running or, anything like that, I just think of those as like coping skills. And so what that means is like, let's say that there is something going on, there is some kind of internal struggle or whatever that may or may not be self-imposed. Um, you can implement these things in life to just help you be able to cope with the intensity of the feeling that you have, therefore decreasing the intensity of the feeling to a lower level so that then your thoughts won't be so emotionally based and you'll be able to actually address and handle what needs to be handled in the healthiest way possible.
Yeah. So it's a kind of another way to like redirect that energy. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess if you do enough of that on a regular basis, your mind doesn't get so like tangled up. This happens to me all the time.
Your mind doesn't get so flooded. But again, I think what a lot of people don't do is they don't go back to address the conflict. They just do the coping skills and do all these things and then they feel better or whatever, but they don't go back and address what needs to be addressed. And that's the issue.
Yeah. But what if in some scenarios there is nothing to be addressed, such as like your life is just so good and you're doing everything so right that like you're just creating some sort of thing to like challenge yourself in your relationships or whatever.
I mean, I don't think that anyone's life is 100% always so good.
Yeah, I guess. And it's always, it's also like perspective too.
It's
like,
perspective in terms of what you could write. But I don't think anyone's life. Now, is my life, let's say, good for me in terms of how it is? Yeah, sure. I mean, but I still have my own stuff in terms of just like being a mom and just, struggling with just like, I don't know, like being a mom and being married. And that's all new to me still. And to kind of still have this back and forth of like, wanting to be able to just fucking get on a plane and just travel the fucking world, like, and just like bring my kid with me and go. But it's like, oh, I got responsibilities and can't do, like can't do that, like that's a lot of my shit, right now. And then kind of feeling like I'm stuck or like this, like just stuff like that, just life stuff. And I consider those things my own, and everyone, is going to have something. Again, I just think it's the focus is what you do with those things. If you're allowing those things to dictate your life and to dictate the behavior, then that's an issue. But if you have these things and you're like, okay, I'm aware of these things, da 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 da, what can I do to at least better help myself so that I don't feel this, da 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 da, how can I get myself out of that? And you're using things and utilizing things and implementing things and you're doing it in a healthy way and you're moving forward and not allowing those things to dictate your behaviors, then you're good to go.
So maybe like those things, like those, like exercising, cold plunge, all this other stuff is more of like a tool.
Yeah, those are all coping skills.
Yeah.
They're all things that are great for you, that are also great for your body. Bonus. I love a good cold plunge because it just feels amazing. I mean, there's no, but I mean, like for me, it's just really something that I am now hooked on because it is the best feeling I've ever felt in my whole life. And I know that medically, internally, I'm winning every time.
Right.
And I'm a competitive person, so I just like to, now I'm just challenging myself.
Right. Okay. Just wanted to go down that one real quick. Yeah. What else?
I hate when you do that. I hate when you're always just like, oh, what else? What else? It's like, just say that in your head to yourself. And then when you think of something, then just come on and say
Why do you not like that?
Because I feel like then we're just like...
Well, if there's nothing else, then we can stop.
Then you could just be like, all right, yeah. I mean, I think that I think that wraps it up for me. Does it? What about you? And I can be like, yeah.
Once again, it's all about the wording.
I'm
saying the exact same shit.
It's all about.
I'm saying it faster.
It's said.
See, my way is more efficient. Yours is like a roundabout. Well, this is how I feel.
No, it's not roundabout. It's very much like, You know what? I think I think I'm all wrapped up over here.
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, what else we got? Like, maybe there's something else. Do you have something else?
I feel like about. Oh my God! Is there? Do you hear that?
No.
It's a fucking fly.
How are you hearing things that
I
I
hear
don't
it going,
hear?
or I just saw something up there. So you need to cover that because I can't. I have like scenarios that like a little mouse face is gonna come over there and be like, "Hi."
This is crazy. It's literally, we're talking about ceiling panels, and one of them is like a jar.
That's so gross.
It's not even a big deal.
A jar? Is that how you would use that in that situation?
Yeah, jarred.
One of the ceiling panels is a jar.
A jarred.
A jarred. I'm gonna double check just because sometimes you get words mixed up and confused. Like, maybe I have. I don't know. I mean, I've heard it, but I haven't heard it used in that specific way.
It's like moved.
So like I'm a little
needs to be adjusted.
A jarred. Simple past tense and past particle of a jar. Okay. What is the rare? Huh? Perhaps non-standard. What? So no, it doesn't. That's not. Wait, what does door ajar mean?
Yeah, door ajar.
If a door is ajar, it's slightly open.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Everything I say needs to be validated by some sort of source.
I just want to be clear, not to put you on blast, but the reason why a lot of the things that you say when it comes to word choices and certain things and how you say certain things is because, in terms of words specifically, is because you are dyslexic. And I also know that
we have not confirmed this.
I also know that because of that, you do see words differently sometimes. You do hear them differently. You write them differently. And so I just want to be clear. That's it. Like, what was the intermediate? You kept saying. I
still say intermediate fasting.
It's intermittent. Damn it.
What's the difference between intermediate and intermittent?
I don't know, but it's the...
Look that one up. Intermediate, intermittent. It's probably the same shit.
Intermediate. Let's see. Coming between two things in time, place, order, character. Intermittent.
Coming between.
Is going to be something different. Occurring at irregular intervals, not continuous or steady. So they're two different words. Yeah, that seems
more like time, yeah. All right, well. That's the only one.
No, it's not. You say a lot of things, especially when you read, which is common for
when I read. Yeah.
Dyslexia.
That's why I do audiobooks now.
Just to be clear, Joe's never been diagnosed with dyslexia, but I have actually diagnosed him because it's pretty clear cut and dry.
You know, some of the smartest people in the world are dyslexic.
Oh, I'm sure. And have, let's say, ADHD or ADD or absolutely. Most creative.
Yeah. That reminds me, I don't do enough creative stuff. That help. That's another good outlet for these types of things as well that we were talking about.
Well, people who are just creative in general, who just have creative brains, in all honesty, really do need to, and this can go the opposite if I say people who just have like really like intellectual brains and just love to just kind of like get lost in that, But people who have creative minds, if you are not doing anything creative in your life and your core is to create, you need to start doing some shit.
Yeah.
Add it into your routine once a day. Do it, because if not, you will start to notice that you either feel like stuck or you feel like you're in a rut, or maybe some depression may come, the signs of it, not real, maybe some anxiety, whatever. And it's because your brain is not being fed the way it needs to fucking be fed. Same thing with an intellectual, reasonable brain. Like if you're not doing stuff that really caters to that brain on that way, you're not feeding your brain the way it needs to be fed, and you're going to feel the same shit. So
that's part of my reasoning for wanting to do this podcast all the time, is because it kind of sparks that creative side with like, a little bit of the editing and, just the graphics and whatnot, and just even the process of doing what we're doing right now. is kind of creative because we're just kind of going off the cuff and thinking about different things and going deep. And I don't know, we're creating content.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. What happened to Instagram?
I don't know. It was fucking up, so I just shut it off. It was like it was like glitchy or something, and then somebody on there said that they couldn't hear us either, so had
So
to cut it
where
short
does
on
the
there.
scan go to? I
Scan.
mean, this
Oh yeah, we
QR
got a
code?
new QR
Yeah,
code
talk
on the
about that.
video. Scan that, and that goes to our link tree, which shows all the different platforms or where you can listen to us, and on Twitter, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever. So it's just like a one-stop shop where you can find us on social media.
Also, before we wrap up, for those of you who are living in Rhode Island, Main Street Coffee, I'm going to give a shout out. So I got to give a shout out to Main Street Coffee.
Yeah.
So we should at them on this too, please. But I want to
Yeah.
give a shout out to Main Street Coffee because so when we first moved here, and you've been doing this before me, but when I first moved here and I went to Main Street Coffee, Joe had put me onto the hot chocolate with
Well, it wasn't even. It was the latte at the time. We were drinking coffee then.
Okay, whatever it was, with coconuts. No, I wasn't. Not when I moved here. I was off caffeine for a long time before that.
No, but you came here before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with coconut syrup in it. And it was amazing. So when we moved here, we were getting hot chocolate with my almond milk with coconut syrup. It is to die for.
But
then one day I went to Main Street Coffee. It was like, maybe like spring, summer or some shit like that. I went to Main Street Coffee and the lady's like, "Oh, we don't have coconut syrup." And I was like, yes, we do, because I literally was here not too long ago and got the same thing. And she's like, "No, we don't have it." And I was like, "But you did though." And she's like, "Yeah, we did, but it's seasonal." And I was like, "Seasonal? This is ridiculous." I was so upset that there was no coconut syrup. I went home, told Joe, he was fucking pissed. We were like, "This is ridiculous," because that literally was what we did all the time.
By the way, they make their own syrups from scratch.
Yes, they make their own syrup from scratch.
Yeah.
So then,
and by the way, it's like some of the best coffee in Rhode Island.
It's delicious. So
amazing
then,
espresso martinis as well.
So at nighttime, Main Street Coffee, if you don't know, turns into like more of a hangout scene, and then they have a bar on the other side. And so we go one night, and we went and we had our espresso martinis. And so we're talking to this gentleman named Mike. Now, does Mike own Main Street Coffee?
No, he's just been there since they opened. So
he's a pleasure.
He's very good friend. I guess he's great. He's with the owner.
He's a pleasure. So anyway, so we get into a conversation with him and we're telling him, and so Joe brings up the whole coconut syrup issue, and he's like, "Hey man, what happened?"
I think I was like super high.
What happened to the coconut syrup? And so Mike was like, "Oh yeah, we don't have that anymore." And the both of us were like, "This is ridiculous. That coconut syrup is the best syrup you've ever had." And so we're like, maybe can we bring our own, and you guys could just pour it in there?
I requested to like purchase a bottle and just leave it here.
Right, like something, So that was the end of the conversation.
And he was like, "Well, I don't know. We'll see."
Yeah. End of conversation. We don't go back for we go in there maybe like a month or a few weeks later or whatever, and we're in there, and Mike goes, "Got your coconut syrup." They fucking made it.
It's just for us.
Made it, literally, and it's there. And now I've been drinking my hot chocolate with coconut syrup, and we had an espresso martini with coconut syrup the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, the most wonderful place. That Mike and all of Main Street Coffee is an absolute pleasure. I'm literally just mind blown by just how wonderful they are in there, the hospitality in there, just everything. So great. The only thing I will say is at night, when it turns into a bar, it's a small place, so it gets so packed.
Yeah.
And then it takes like literally hours to get just one drink.
No, it doesn't.
Joe, it takes about at least like 15 minutes. It takes 15 minutes.
I mean, if you go at like
on a Friday, Saturday night,
like 10 o'clock at night,
it takes 15 minutes on a Friday, Saturday night. So that's my only issue. So my hope is that one day Main Street Coffee
we'll create another little special thing just for you.
Decides to expand.
Oh.
Just that bar section.
I thought you were gonna ask it. Maybe they create a special line for
No,
you when
just
you
that
show
bar
up
section. Just the bar section. Or what they can start doing is maybe start playing the music at night
on the
in
other
that
side.
lounge area on the other side in the
Even
back.
just on the other side of the wall in the
Yeah, then
coffee
I'd
area.
be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is cool. Like blah blah blah.
You just need to put one more speaker up. That's all.
Yeah, just one more speaker. Anyway, a pleasure. An absolute pleasure.
Yeah, big shout out to Main Street Coffee in East Greenwich.
Yeah,
they are the shit, and they don't have coconut syrup if you wanted it, because it's just ours. No, I'm sure they'll give it to you. It's there now, but they didn't make. They made it for us, but they didn't make it for us. It's there now.
It's there. For
Somebody complained, so now it's there, I think.
It's there for anyone who wants something. But honestly, I've never actually been to a place before, like a restaurant or whatever, complained about something and had it fixed like that.
Yeah.
Never. So.
Well, maybe they thought about it and they're like,
the coconut is the way to go.
Coconut goes with anything.
Everything.
So, yeah. Maybe not enough people know about the coconut flavor.
You know what? I can guarantee you that if we were in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, the coconut would be a huge hit.
Oh, yeah.
But people out here are like.
But I think even down there, I think just
candy cane.
Yeah, I think people in general, they don't promote the coconut enough.
No,
like
because
through different
it's
Starbucks
cold,
or whatever.
Right, but I also think out here because it's cold and it's this, so no one thinks of coconut. But out in Florida, we're always thinking of coconut. Coconuts everywhere we go.
Yeah, but they don't even have the coconut down there either, though.
Well,
where did we go down there that had coconut? Nowhere. They actually had nowhere down there.
Well, that's because you could just go to your fucking tree in the back and chop up a damn coconut.
Yeah, but you're not getting coconut syrup, though.
Put some
the flavoring
in your coffee.
And the good thing is that it's like handcrafted there. This stuff, I don't know what. I'm sure there's lots of sugar and stuff in it, but it's not like some like fake shit that you buy at the store. No, like they're making it.
Remember we were doing that when we lived in Miami? We literally would just like go collect coconuts from outside, come back inside, and then just drink coconut water. It was so nice.
You mean I used to do that? So at our old place, I became friends with like the maintenance guy, and I noticed like a couple times a year he was cutting the coconuts down, and there was just a pile of coconuts, and he was like throwing them in the garbage. I was like, listen, when you do that, just bring them to my place. So then we had a shitload of coconuts, and we put those in the smoothies every morning.
Yeah. Okay, well, I got to get out of here because I have things to do at the office.
Oh, you're not just gonna be like, well, I think it's over now, but well, how do you feel about it?
I'd rather say what I just said than, what are we gonna talk about now?
What else you got?
Nothing. So
all right,
it's 12:27.
That means we can end.
So thanks for tuning in. If you did, thanks for tuning in. If you will,
yeah. By the way, this is a special. We swithed our times. We usually do the Sunday afternoons, but Wela left now.
Wela's gone.
So for now we're still
know about Wela.
We're still adjusting which day we're going to be able to do this on. This is not going to be. It's not going to be on Thursdays. So right now it's Thursday. I don't know what date, but we're live on Thursday. It's probably going to be like Fridays. Probably moving forward, Friday afternoon. Mm-hmm. If you watch the live, but yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Yep. All right, everyone, have a good rest of the week.
Yep. We will talk to you later.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.